In this session, we will talk about how to write copy better, faster, and more profitably with AI. And I have Jacob McMillen here. He's a copywriter and solopreneur who has been experimenting with advising on and investing in AI since 2020. And I think I stumbled across his work many, many years ago, a little bit later since I got started. But I think I just found him through another summit of a friend of mine. And then we never actually got to do anything, but then I've seen his work from afar, and now he's doing a lot of cool stuff with AI and helping copywriters and other people just write better and more efficiently. So this is going to be a good and actionable session here. Warm welcome, Jacob.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Great to be here. Love talking about the intersection of AI and copywriting. I think it's highly relevant for anyone, whether
Right.
you're trying to freelance, do any form of marketing, or you're entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, someone building your own business.
Yeah.
Copywriting is important for everything, and AI empowers it in a really
Yeah.
unique way.
Yes, it's like becoming an AI powered copywriter, but doing it in a human like way. I think that's what you talk a lot about to do it. So it's because you have been writing copy for some big names and things like that. So you need to make sure it's really good. Now with AI, you can be more efficient. So maybe you can tell us a little bit how you said you got into this like 2020 or so. Like what? So how is like before AI and how is it now with AI? What's your process like if you talk about copywriting specifically?
Yeah, so I've been a freelance copywriter since 2012. So 11 years now. And back in 2020, when GPT-3 came out, I found it interesting. I think like most people did. I was very intrigued by this idea of like an AI engine that actually writes copy that in some specific cases is difficult to distinguish from what a human might write. At the time when I started digging into it, it was like, okay, this is a very interesting brainstorming tool. Has some capabilities in terms of content structure. For example, one of the biggest deficiencies that I've seen among professional writers is content structure because it's a little bit more analytical. It's a little more it's less that creative side of the brain. And so I would say like 99% of the writers I've worked with, I've had to just massively overhaul how they approach outlining. And like right out of the box, GPT-3 was a pretty strong outliner. So that obviously caught my attention.
Hmm.
Um, by that point in my career, a decent amount of time that I spent was also in helping train other freelance writers and helping them build writing businesses and improve their copywriting. And so I was interested in it both from a possibility standpoint and a novelty perspective, but also just in terms of, okay, this is the beginning of something that seems like it's going to impact the market, impact the people who I'm helping build businesses, our core service and skill set. So I started paying attention. I started looking at the time, people were less conscious of open AI as much as they were some of the businesses that were building on top of GPT-3. Like obviously, what is now Jarvis at the time was like they were the biggest in terms of VC funding, so they were the ones putting all those ads out.
Yeah.
So I was looking at what they were doing, and then there were some other companies that I was watching as well. I ended up investing in one, Copy AI, just because I felt like they were taking a more honest approach to it because they were trying to dial in really like single use applications versus trying to do the one click copywriting, which is where I saw Jasper going. So I kind of got involved with them, did some stuff behind the scenes of building some of those models that were layered over the top of GPT-3. And then in 2022, right? Yeah, 2022, ChatGPT comes out. And all of a sudden, it's a household name in a month. Like that was wild in terms of one, ChatGPT just did a much better job than any of the other third-party tools were doing at leveraging the GPT-3 algorithm. But then on top of that, just what really blew me away was the market perception and how the market responded to this new tech. And so that, like, right off the bat, that's something I have to be thinking about as someone training writers in this space is how do you deal with the market perceptions around this? I still was kind of, even with ChatGPT being better, I was still skeptical at how impactful it was going to be because beyond outlining and brainstorming, I didn't really find any legitimate uses for it in my own copywriting workflow. Then March 2023, GPT-4 gets added into the mix, and suddenly it's a whole new game. All of a sudden, GPT-4 is relevant at almost every single stage of my workflow. And that's when I realized, okay, like this, for better or worse, this is the future. This is something that's going to raise the floor for written communication within a business context. Obviously, a lot of people, when they think of writing, there's this close tie to human creativity, human expression. With copywriting, none of that matters. Creativity, at the end of the day, is often a red herring. Like, it often distracts people from just pursuing analytics and the actual performance-based metrics. And so, as someone who, my work has always been, there's different schools of copywriting, mine has always been measurable results. Like, if I'm not showing this is converting, if I'm not showing this is bringing in sales, I'm out of work. Obviously, there's kind of the agency people who do these poetic product descriptions that nobody's actually tracking.
Just a question on this. Do you do mostly like for blog content or any content marketing, right? Not just sale. We're not just talking about sales pages, like any content that drives people to an action.
Email copy, landing pages. I mean, even the blog content that I would do, it was designed, like everything I worked on was designed.
I read some blog content in the past of yours. Even now, before this, I checked out some of the stuff. We have a similar approach. You like very in-depth and quality content. So
and it needs to rank. Like,
of course,
with SEO, if it's not ranking for a keyword, if it's designed for SEO and it's not ranking, it's worthless. Unless you're plugging it in other capacities.
Exactly.
So that was always my approach.
It's really interesting. We can take this in quite a few different directions, but I wanted to see, like, for someone who is the primary audience is like creators, solopreneurs, maybe not as much people want to be professional copywriters, I think. But I think that what I see is people are like getting into these new tools, which is great if you dabble with it, and you should get used to it. But if you don't know it's not going to replace the knowledge of knowing what great copy is or knowing what a great blog post should look like. ChatGPT can guess, or other tools can. I mean, they can give you pretty good output, probably better than you can, just come up like on a whim. But you need to still know when they are giving you this, this content or this outline, how to formulate it. You said you had a formula for it, right? So maybe we can get into that so someone can actually understand how to go through this process when you use tools like ChatGPT, which is fantastic, but it saves you a lot of time. But you need to know kind of the power of it when you get this, output.
Yeah. So I would say the two keys for, a solopreneur trying to use AI to basically raise the floor of their copywriting is, one, never, ever, ever try to make it a one-click process. You completely give up on the idea that I'm going to sit down, put in a singular prompt and get a full blog post. Like, just throw that entire concept out the window. Anything you do effectively with AI is going to be modular. It's going to be section by section. So you're going to have it help you write one section at a time. Now, there are tools emerging that understand that and are basically building the modules into their tools.
Yeah, it's like behind the scenes, right? I love it. I mean, I just on that, because it's really interesting. ChatGPT will take you forever to write an in-depth blog post. You will have to do it. You will have to do it in steps. Plus the token limit. Yes, you can't add as much text into it, so you have to go in steps, which kind of sucks. And then it gives you a big chunk, and it doesn't give you in the tone you want. It takes a little bit of time especially for longer form content. I use it for a lot of things, but not for this. For this, I like more specific tools like content at scale, for example. You can like take a link from this video and you'll write this in the blog post in Neil Patel's voice or something like that, or in Brian Dean's voice, or whoever your favorite marketer might be, which is great, because then it's already like, we'll have short sentences. They will have this. That's built into their model. It's not just, a little bit on top of OpenAI's API, right? That's most like tools that I think a lot of tools would disappear, but tools that build like a real SaaS, like I think Jasper has done well, but they went a little bit back after, they didn't implement some things, I think, but it's common, like they were growing too quickly, some of the tools, and they have growing pains.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that you kind of referenced the second piece of that,
Yeah.
which is like understanding that AI is always going to be a collaborative process. If you try to
Mhm.
use AI to do it without yourself or without a human writer, and you can be as the solopreneur, you can be the creator, you can be the human component, but there has to be a human component because what makes content and copy interesting and engaging is point of view. It's
Of
the
course.
unique angle, the unique ideas that you bring to the table. AI is designed to give us the exact middle of any topic. Like it's basically it's going to take everything on the web and give you like the exact average of every idea, every the talking points, the whatever the concept is. It's not trying to provide point of view. It's trying to provide just the expected output. And so that's phenomenal when you're creating context, when you're kind of trying to introduce terms and ideas, kind of help put things in that are going to contextualize the point of view that you're delivering. But that point of view still has to be there. And so when you're going in and approaching writing any sort of piece of content, understanding where am I going to insert my point of view here? Where's the core substance that I want to include in this piece? And then how can I use AI to basically, instead of needing 10 hours to write a good blog post, now I can do it in like 2 hours because it's doing all, the heavy lifting for me. And I just spend 2 hours putting in my unique point of view, maybe a unique story or two, something like that.
Mhm. No, it's interesting because you can also like if you're launching a new site, which it's very difficult when you're launching like I mean you're gonna launch with one post or 5 posts. Now you can use tools like I mentioned, content at scale, or whatever you like, whatever you prefer, and then you can launch with many blog posts. Maybe you don't add in every. I mean, you just need to make sure, of course, it's unique. If you have, that's why I love video content because this what we are doing here right now recording this, it's actually a unique piece of content. It's not existing in this form anywhere else. So I could
Yep.
take that and then, the AI will create, a piece of content from this so I can like use it. But I do think that's kind of the key to launch with many pieces of content. And that's easier now. You can replicate like many writers from this process to just have AI. And then you go into doing what you said to add your personal touch to it, to mold it, to make sure it's actually in your voice and your stories or whatever you want to share. So yeah, so that you can also do after the fact. If you're doing blog posts, you can index it and then you can go in and add more to it. I mean, I think especially if you want to scale faster your website, whatever. At least because getting content indexed is key. Then you can see where it ends up on the pages basically.
Yeah, that's a great point. From a content marketing perspective, it kind of used to be you would pre-invest all of these hours into
Hmm.
content that you really don't know which pieces are going to actually rank, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now you can kind of use AI to put up a bunch of content pretty rapidly. And then if you want, you can wait. And as something starts to rank, you kind of allocate your hours towards the lower hanging fruit, the thing that's most likely to get you the quickest
Mhm.
results. Because if an AI written article shows up for you on the third page, you're like, okay, I can come in, add some point of view,
Mhm.
and bump this up to the first page or something.
Yeah,
So
I
it's a
mean,
it's a it's a whole different approach that wasn't even possible
this was
pre-AI.
yeah, exactly. This you can not like launch, but like you can like use a tool. You just have like 50 articles. So you have to make sure it's good. Yeah, I mean, to like you have to see kind of what's ranked. You have to use the right tools. So you know kind of what kind of keywords to add in, the semantic keywords. Yeah, it's a little bit technical, but you have to
Yeah.
know this in order to, and then also knowing what a great blog post look like. It's not maybe the same as a sales page is different form, but you have to know what it looks like. That's what we talked about before. So why don't you get into a little bit your process? I don't know if you wanted to share something, kind of what you go through when you actually go through, like ChatGPT, or you mentioned even in the pre-chat and some other AI tools because ChatGPT wasn't working as well for you anymore. So yeah, it's just
Sure.
interesting
So
to showcase
there's
this.
kind of two directions we could go here. I could walk us through creating like a blog post in ChatGPT and how I would do that, or we can talk about some of the different like more like targeted applications of AI that are
I think
available and which
I
tools I
think like
use.
showcase the blog post. I wouldn't personally, I wouldn't use ChatGPT for this, but like for most people, you're probably using ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT mainly for ideation, for other things, for like, a lot of the work around it, outlines specifically. We talked about this, but not for specific tasks. Then I prefer to go to another tool. But of course, it's cost that goes into this. But I see it like I would replace writers. I was spending like over $1,000 a month before on writers. Now I can take a tool like Content at Scale and I can just, pay, a few hundred a month, or I think their top plan was 1,000, but then you can do 50 articles. Like imagine how much, how much do you charge when you do not? I mean, you did do writing before, right? You're charging quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like in 2022, I averaged about 5K an article. But the reason I was charging so much
Oh,
was because like that's, we're ranking like number 3 for restaurant marketing type of a blog
yeah,
post.
but you are
Like
doing outreach for them as well. This is like a package, basically.
no,
It's
no,
not only like,
it was purely the writing, but
are
my
you
stuff
serious?
just
That's
ranked.
crazy. That's
Yeah, my
premium,
stuff
man.
just I just like for whatever reason, I happen to be really good at ranking for hyper competitive terms. Like I was the number 1 result for copywriter for 3 years,
Oh, that's
like with a
amazing. But
blog
do
post.
you
Like
build links to this and stuff like that as well?
I mean, there is some content promotion that goes on, but it's more
We should
about
talk about that a little bit. But showcase how because now you show your process for doing this with AI, and then see how someone getting
yeah,
into this
I'm
newer would
applying,
rank
and
for this
that's the thing. Like
without being Neil Patel or Brian Dean, right? Without being someone who's crazy good at backlinks and they just have crazy traffic, right? We have a newer site like.
yeah, I literally like it was pretty much all from the content itself. Obviously, when you make good content, it attracts organic links. That's
Of course.
ultimately like that's Brian Dean's whole strategy is make link bait content, right? So
He do a lot of outreach though, Brian, or his
he
team.
does, he does, yeah,
And I assume
way more than me.
yeah, I mean Neil Patel as well. I mean he doesn't need it as much anymore. It's just like a huge site, but before he did for sure when he started this personal site.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
All right, you can share the screen and walk us through
Cool.
the process.
Yeah, let's see here. Share.
Yeah, now it's coming up. So yeah,
Cool.
showcase this. So you have
So
the plus plan, right?
Yeah, the first thing I got to mention here is GPT-4. It's literally like an order of magnitude better than 3.5. So many people think they understand what AI is capable of and are unimpressed because they've been using 3.5 and never actually tried 4.
Because they never upgrade, like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
when you think something is free, you can basically use it how more or less how much you want, but it's 3.5. And I think people don't. It's what we talked about before. People don't realize what is good and bad. Like what is a good. Yeah, I'm getting some text here. Sounds good, but it's not really. Is it really good? Like or is like kind of crap?
And this is why kind of my argument with AI is that copywriters are the best at leveraging AI because we understand what we need it to do. It's kind of the same thing.
I
The
mean,
more you understand the deliverable you're creating, the better you'll be at using
of
AI to
course.
get
I mean,
it. So,
someone like you coming from professional background, but I do think anyone, even if you're
and-
not writing for clients, this is
yeah,
one, like when I started out, that 10 years ago, whatever, that was like the number one skill. Everyone who was mentoring me or was telling me things, they said like, you need to learn copywriting. You need to read like breakthrough advertising and these like
yep.
books, you need to write these letters. That's what they told me. Now no one does this. Like no creator who comes in, they do this. They just focus, let's create some YouTube videos. That's fantastic. It's great. They're good at certain things, but I think they missed other parts of it, like the email marketing bit and the things that actually drives real sales, not just the sponsorship bit, which is the audience on social media, right? So this is way different.
Completely agree. I'd love I think it'll be a more interesting example do you want to give me a topic idea to run
let's
with?
take a topic. Let's think about something. Maybe should we take something like in the marketing or in an unrelated niche to what
Let's do unrelated to marketing.
Okay, completely unrelated. Let's see. Maybe I come back to the weight loss, but that's maybe pretty competitive. But if you want to do it,
we could do flexible dieting.
Yeah, or one of my students did like many summits on fasting before he sold that business. That's also quite interesting. And now he's doing actually now he's doing would be interesting as well. He's the founder of Pet Summits and petsummits.com. And
Okay.
he is Mitch Asser, he's a longtime student of mine, has done really well. And he wants to scale his blog. Actually, this is a real example. He wants to do it. And he has a lot of content, of course, from his summit sessions, but he wants to rank this to potentially sell his business, because the more organic traffic you have, especially when this is not his face, this is actually a business that is sellable, but he wants to have more traffic, not just from the summits, but actually organically, so he can potentially sell that asset for a lot more than just the email list, for example. So this is I think this is fun. This is a real example. So he's basically writing about dog training and different dog diets and things like dog nutrition. That's what that's what his summits is about.
Okay. Like a guide to pet nutrition, or a guide to,
Yeah, you can
let's say,
check.
a
I mean, you
guide
can
to
go up. You can
collie,
actually pull up his
collie
website,
nutrition.
petsummits.com, which is interesting. We can actually do this real time. So it's a real example for you guys. I just thought of this now because he was.
Petsummits.com.
Yeah, petsummits.com. That's the domain. So yeah, exactly. And
Cool.
and yeah, he has a lot of summits, but this is the main. It's basically not only summits. They have a real kind of educational platform for people who like pets.
So one thing we could do here, let's take a view of, like, I own pet. Let's pretend I own petsummits.com, and I don't know a whole lot about content marketing. So the first thing I might do is come here and we'll say browse with Bing, so that I can throw that URL in here, and said, I want to create a content strategy for, give me, we'll just say, for time's sake, give me 10 blog post ideas that will be evergreen topics that I can rank in search.
Yeah, this is how I start usually as well. This is a good way.
Little disclaimer about how you need other expertise or whatever.
Yeah, of course. By the way, do you add the custom instructions to the as well sometimes in the ChatGPT Plus?
I've played around with it a little bit. I used it so heavily prior to that feature that most of the stuff I do on a day-to-day basis, I already have a workflow that works for me. So I haven't done a whole lot with it, but I would imagine there's a lot of additional capability in there.
Yeah, you can maybe you save a little bit time in the prompting and stuff like that, because you don't need to give as much information about kind of your specific business.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So let's see. Okay, so this is mostly about the summits, which may not be exactly, but here, maybe something like this.
Pet care is interesting, or maybe something, yeah, you
A
can
little
see.
broad.
Yeah, I mean, also, I guess you can also use, you need to know there is some traffic around, like the keyword research. I guess you can also use AI for this.
You can. For keyword research, I definitely recommend using like Ahrefs or SEMrush or something. But
yeah, or if you're in a budget,
even just
like
Google.
Uber Suggest is also good. This keyword, I think keyword everywhere or something like that is pretty solid as well. So there's a few tools, but if you want the true, I think Ahrefs is great, and SEMrush, that's the top tools. But yeah, also more premium, but they are great.
So let's just pretend we decided to go with pet nutrition from this. Just because I think that's like a good, like if we looked up pet nutrition, I would imagine it's pretty good keyword volume.
If it has good volume, okay, if it's too much competition for this, you can also go with dog nutrition, right? You can actually go a step down.
Dial in it a little bit more.
Yeah,
so yeah,
more niche, more specific.
Dog nutrition. Yeah, 1,700.
That might also get better traffic for some. If his summit was about, let's say, dog nutrition, especially if he doesn't have, I don't know how many backlinks he has and stuff like that now. But
so if we're taking an approach influenced by the capability of AI, what I'm actually doing here is most common dog breeds. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking maybe like the top 50 or something, and I'm doing guide to Labrador nutrition, guide to Beagle nutrition, guide to French Bulldog nutrition, guide to Dachshund nutrition, something like that. And then I'm making a guide to dog nutrition as the middle, like the pillar post that I link all of these breed specific articles to. I'd probably use the process I'm about to show you for the the dog nutrition pillar post, and then I would use something like Content at Scale to auto generate like all of these and throw them
Do you
up,
use
because
content at scale a lot yourself? Have you used it?
I've used it a bit. The thing with, I
Have you
think it's,
tried it recently? It's like even Julia McCoy, she's the president of Content at Scale. We did something live similar to this. We recorded this and she was blown away. We just put like in some keyword research for, I think, Klaviyo, which is the e-commerce platform, to write about their affiliate I mean, it was just something that came out. There was like not a lot of competition. And then we also put in like a YouTube link for a video I had with Neil Patel. Just gave a really great blog post. I didn't need to, maybe I would need to do 10 to 15% editing on this, and it would be actually pretty good. Like,
okay,
really good. And it was like really, really in depth. It was like over 2,000, it was like 2,000 plus words or something, 2 to 3,000.
totally.
So, yeah. So it's gotten better. I think even like in a few months, it's gotten better. I heard some critique to certain things, but now it's gotten really good all of a sudden. I don't know what they are doing. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. Again, like, I have yet to use a tool that that I think people are going to really want to read all the content that comes out from a one-click creation, especially when no humans there inserting some point of view. But for stuff that's basic and repetitive, like trying to do a dog nutrition post for 20, 50 breeds of dogs,
I don't think Mitch would be
realistically,
happy
you're not gonna have someone write all of those.
I told Mitch, I was chatting with Mitch that he's not passionate about, he's doing this because he likes to build businesses, right? And he likes to help people, whatever, but he's not like passionate about this per se. It's not his passion. So I don't think he would enjoy sitting there writing articles or going through this. He would have to find a process to do this a lot quicker, and then having someone on his team go in and tweak a little bit and put in maybe a little bit of a personal touch.
Yeah. So let's do like a new Google Doc here.
Yeah.
So I can show you the word count that we get from this. So you see here, when I ask it to give me a blog post for a comprehensive guide to dog nutrition, this is a lot of good stuff. This is a really strong outline.
And we didn't do anything else. This is all we did.
That's all I did. I literally just asked it for an outline for a comprehensive guide. Now I'm going to come in here, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to say, write this section.
Jacob, would you say that there should be an expert on the topic? Like, you're a true dog nutrition expert with 20 years of experience. Does it help to get better output, or what have you found?
I've tried that. I'm one of those people who feel like the whole prompt industry is wildly overblown.
I would say, yeah.
Especially with GPT-4. Like, I think with GPT-3, more advanced prompts got you more uplift on your outputs. But with GPT-4, I've tried literally
that might be actually refreshing for people. You don't need to do it. And yeah,
I agree.
I think the pros and cons, like ChatGPT, you need to do prompting. You need to give him some stuff. When you go into like a tool we talked about, like a specific tool, you have usually a set of questions like, what is this about? What voice do you? And then you don't need to write any prompts. That's why they have this like in the back of it, like on the inside, have all this stuff basically from behind the scenes. So, yeah.
So you can see like how much content it's coming up with just from the opening section. One of the struggles that a lot of people have is they come in and they ask for like a specific section of content, and GPT-4 will try to like turn the whole thing into a standalone deliverable. So that's why what I like to do is start off with an outline like this, and then within that same thread, reference the section I want written, and it's going to write it within the context of a bigger piece instead of trying to make it a standalone sales pitch or something. So you can see here, just from this first section, this is that's like almost 500 words. So like, we got how many sections here? Like 10? Like we could get to a very extensive article pretty fast, and you almost end up being more of like an editor curator with this than you do needing to write anything yourself, which is great if you're not a writer, especially. It lets you decide. So what I would do with this is I'd come in, I'd put the headline up here. I'd probably format it a little bit. I would probably rewrite some of this to make it a little more Brian Dean, just straight into what the promise of the
Just
article
do
is.
very simple, the key to, I mean, depending on who you're writing for, but I would say for most people, write really short sentences, really simple. Don't complicate things. If you read something, I don't know if you're familiar with Brian Dean's work or even Neil Patel, but mostly Brian Dean, he's just writing stupid simple. Actually, it's like when you read it, it's one sentence, like, anyone could have written this, but it's just really easy to understand it. And then it's a really good guide walking you through step by step how to do something about SEO or content marketing or whatever it is. So yeah.
I threw it in here. I changed, basically what I just did is I changed the formatting a little. I'd probably rewrite this to simplify the intro, because your intro is just super important that it doesn't kick readers off.
Tell me about the intro, like what goes in there. Do you do it like with some stat, or do you just do it? If you write something about Brian Dean, usually just, this is the guide to advanced SEO.
Yeah,
and
so
then point.
I'd
period.
probably do something like, in this article, we're going to cover everything you need to know about your dog's nutrition. We'll cover common misconceptions. What else do we have in this?
It's important also to have, in any blog post you do or any kind of writing, even a sales page, it's important to have an FAQ section with the most frequently asked questions. And that also is for schema markup. So actually Google can pull from this, and you can actually, if you're lucky, you can get some of these featured if you reach the first page of Google, which is nice. You can get more traffic that way.
So I basically just, and I typically write the intro at the end of the article, because sometimes I'll make changes to the direction of the piece, but we put nutrition basics, choosing the right commercial brands, just thinking about which parts of because we don't want to put the entire outline in it, but just thinking about, for someone who's clicking on this article, what pieces of the article are probably the most urgent on their mind, or the most, for example, I'm guessing the biggest thing on their mind is probably, am I killing my dog with the basic commercial food I'm giving them right now?
That everyone is buying them, right?
Yeah. So just basically speaking to that in the intro.
Gotta buy organic to your dog too,
Exactly.
It's an expensive thing.
We're gonna go section by section. So we're gonna come in here. We're gonna have ChatGPT write each of these sections, and then as we go through that, we're gonna be looking for, where in here can I insert my point of view? So if the person doing this, obviously, if you don't have a dog, if you're just doing this as a, an income play, like you said, maybe you don't have a lot of passion about it. Maybe you just stick with this. Maybe you reach out. I mean, this is something you know all about. Maybe you reach out to people who have pet blogs. You reach out to a bunch of people with pet blogs, people who are passionate, and you say, hey, what do you think is the number one thing people need to think about for their dog's nutrition? Or what is the number one misconception that people have about dog nutrition?
Jacob, do you remember the time when it was it's still kind of popular, but these roundup posts were popular? Instead of doing that, I think it's more powerful to writing the ultimate guide to a topic like we are doing here, or we are working on it. And then you get quotes from experts. So Mitch, in this case, who is the founder of the Pet Summits, he has a lot of summit sessions, videos. So he probably already got quotes. He can even include videos in this post to make it rich content. He can probably do anything to enhance this, but he has still a really good outline. So it's something that Google wants. If you take something from an interview, it's not maybe always 100% how you may want it if you didn't think about this ahead of time. So just including this, I think, can make it really awesome, and he can save a lot of time because he already did the work. If you didn't, I think it's great to do what you said, reach out to some people, get some quotes. It's pretty easy to do it, actually. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. You need, if you really want to rank in search, if you really want your content to get shared, get links, there has to be something in it beyond the AI, because everyone's going to be producing using the AI. In 5 years, nobody's going to be doing blogging without heavy AI help. So there's a lot it can do, but in order, even before AI, the internet was flooded with mediocre human written content. AI is just more efficient at doing what we were already doing with blogging. So
But
like you
has it
still,
really changed? Google still wants the best content. They were a little bit against AI generated content from the beginning, but
yep.
now they have changed their stance on this. So it's actually like they said they want just great content, whether it's from AI or from human or a combination. I would prefer the way we are doing here. So you add your personal touch, right? I like this a lot more. Then it doesn't
And
even feel like AI generated.
they had to, because there's no way to detect it. If you're using GPT-4 and you're
Yeah.
collaborating with it instead of just copy pasting
Yeah.
every single word, I have used AI on everything I've written in the last 6 months. Nobody would be able to tell which pieces of it are from me, which pieces are
That's
AI. Like I approach it in such a hybrid way that it's literally indiscernible what's what. And like we've consistently seen like AI detectors fail. Sometimes I'll go into whatever the leading AI detector is at the time and I'll just play around. I'll throw
Which ones do you
purely,
use? What do you like?
I hate all of them. They all suck. Like they're all terrible. If
I've
you're
played a
doing
little bit with
yeah,
originality.ai,
yeah,
which
well,
is,
I think that's probably perceived to be the leader, but if you're throwing in GPT-4 stuff and you're throwing in multi-prompted stuff versus just single prompted stuff,
of course.
it can't tell shit, you know?
Yeah, it's not gonna detect anything. I think anyway, like what we are doing here in this example, I think it's like showcasing that it's like we are getting a pretty decent outline from the ChatGPT here, and then just going in to doing a few tweaks. We haven't even asked it to write too much, like 500 words, but it's still like I don't know, this blog post. How many words would you say you need to rank for this topic? Like 3,000 words, something?
I think 3,000 words has been the sweet spot for ranking in SEO for like at least the last 4 years.
If you're doing longer, does it hurt you or short? I mean, shorter, of course, but it can.
I don't know. I've experimented with different word counts and like to some extent, I think you get very marginal returns past 3,000
Mhm.
words. And
I mean, it can be
sometimes it can
perceived as
hurt
high
you.
value if you really make it epic. I don't know if you've seen this, but like on YouTube, it's trending a lot that a lot of people are doing these super long podcasts or super long tutorials. So I saw just an affiliate marketing tutorial. It was like 3.5 hours long. If we saw this like 10 years ago, that didn't exist really on like now people are doing this 3 hour podcast. People didn't want to do a 30-minute interview before, right? So it's like changing a little bit. People like this kind of long form style because it's perceived higher value and you get into a lot more stuff so people can listen or watch it if they want to. So
Yeah.
but I think for
So
blog content, a lot hasn't changed. It's like always been like in-depth content. It's just the video form content has been getting longer and longer. That's what I'm saying. And shorter for that matter. It's like both. It's like short form is killing it, but also long form is killing it. Depends what you're looking for.
short form gets views. Longer form is a lot more monetizable, and
Of course.
that's why TikTok has been like shifted to rewarding videos over a minute long because they can't really get much ad revenue for stuff
Mhm.
under 60 seconds. So they're
Yeah.
trying to push everyone to make longer form,
And of
which is
course,
ironic because YouTube Shorts, you have to be under 60 seconds, you know. So
yeah. But YouTube have they have the long form content. They love it when someone do like a 3 hour video because the watch time is so long. Even if they watch like 15 minutes, that's longer than most people's content on YouTube platform. Even if they watch 100% of a 6 minute video, right? So
yeah.
it's pretty interesting.
Honestly, I think the single reason I've been able to rank for really hyper competitive terms is because my average time on page for most of my content is
Uh,
north of 6 minutes. Which is like more than like,
so
it's
how
like
do you
double or
do that?
triple the
Like
average.
that is crazy. That is
Yeah.
amazing. Big props on that. That's similar to, I think that time on page is similar to the YouTube watch time. If you're looking like, if you're a creator coming from the YouTube world or whatever that, or podcasts, podcasts actually, they have a lot longer listening time as it is because it's like they're listening on their commute or whatever. YouTube
Yeah.
are struggling with this, but now it's like when watch time is important, you need to hook your viewers, right? So what have you seen for the blogging side of things? Because you are getting such great engagement with the content you write.
Yeah. This is why there's like single articles that one are ranking for hyper competitive terms, but then these articles are bringing in 6 figures in a year from a single article
Wow.
because it's attracting the right audience, it's keeping them engaged, and then when you keep someone engaged and give them the intent that they were searching for, like you actually give them the value, you have a lot of time to convert that attention into like your email sign up, which then is a lot easier to turn them into a customer.
So how would you do that? For this example we are talking about, how would you actually, of course, there's no promises. Sorry, Mitch, there's no promises, but you can take some of this advice here, or anyone who's watching or listening into this. Like, what would you do with this article to actually get similar results that you are used to getting for your clients and yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would basically throw it into something like this.
All right, let's show the page.
So I would basically, once you have the article, I would put it into sort of like a multi-part guide like this,
Mm.
format it nice. You have the different sections. And then what you want to do, I actually haven't done it with this one yet, is you want to add in like basically a prompt to get the full guide, basically. In this case, this is an ongoing guide I have going, so I haven't transitioned it to like
And
the
does that
full.
convert well to just give them a PDF of what they already read?
So this would be, I mean, I structure it more like an interactive versus a PDF. Like I would basically take them to like an interactive page where they
Ah,
can go between like the 4 pieces of the post. There's going to be videos for each piece. This one's still in progress. And then you want to have email sign up at the beginning, at the end, once or twice in between, depending on how far it is. You want to have like easy navigation. And then
internal
you just
links, I guess, is important.
yeah, you want to have internal links between the pieces of the guide. And then if you're trying to rank in SEO, you're going to go through your other blog content and rank, I'm trying to rank this for AI copywriting guide. So I'm going to go through and add
Mm.
links from other posts
Is
to
there
this one.
any tools for this to do it without going through this manual, which can be a tedious process if you have a lot of content? Do you use any tools for this, or do you just do it yourself?
So the idea here would be you're going to have one pillar guide, one pillar piece, like this comprehensive dog nutrition guide is the one you spend the time making it look really nice, doing all this. It's going to be more time process. Like you can see, I have this guides post, this guides tab. The guides
Yeah.
is for all the really like lengthy, well formatted, heavy
Oh, that's
hitting
cool.
stuff. And then I have over here in my blog, I have AI stuff like this.
Mm.
And you can
Does that
see
still,
here,
do you think that's the perceived value? Do you think it's still, I know Brian Dean did a lot of that. I see a lot of, I think kind of that lost a little. Some people are not doing it anymore, but that's maybe why it's also, it's a way to stand out, right? If you're doing it, like to divide in sections and things like that.
so this stuff, I don't really use this in my marketing. This is just the mass trying to rank for some AI
Got it.
terms that I don't really want to intentionally target. It's just
Mm.
copy paste basically. It kind of like content at
Yeah, you don't have
scale.
any pictures or photos, right? And basically,
I have like
yeah.
one that I made in Midjourney, and then you just have basically what this would be for the breeds of dogs. So this would be the auto-generated content for collie nutrition
Mm.
guide, French bulldog nutrition guide. So I'm going to have like 50 of those that I'm not
That is
really trying
great.
to
Actually,
push.
I've seen this. Man, this is great. We're talking about, really interesting because I've seen like other sites doing the same. They're writing about, I was seeing like one tool I'm using for my affiliate marketing stuff is Lasso. It's a great tool. You can do like these display boxes and things like that for different things. And they
Yeah.
have basically on their site, like for every single affiliate niche, basically, they wrote these articles, and they probably have an ultimate guide to affiliate marketing or affiliate marketing programs or whatever. They have this too. But underneath, like what you're talking about, they had like crypto affiliate programs and this and that. They had so many, maybe dog training affiliate programs, every single niche basically. And they like get so much traffic from, maybe not all of them, but they just like interlinked. So yeah, it's a really good strategy actually.
Yeah. So this is the type of stuff that like you don't realistically want to write 50 guides to nutrition for dogs because it's all going to be the same content. Like what you really want to send to people to is the more collaborative, higher quality one that you build, like we showed with the dog nutrition. And then you're just, for every one of these posts, you're going to include links in the post to the dog nutrition guide. So you're going to have 20 to 50 posts that are auto-generated that all link to the one that looks more like this. And this is the one you're trying to really channel real readers to. You're just trying to collect front end SEO traffic with these ones. And then if you find that, hey, my collie dog nutrition guide gets a ton of traffic, but like people just show up, they start reading, it's kind of lower quality because it's one click through AI. Then you come in and you like do a more collaborative process to boost the ones that are getting more of that traffic.
That's awesome. And I think like one word that I mentioned in our pre-chat, cyborg, do you call it like that?
Yeah, this like the cyborg writing
And
method.
is that a concept you came up with?
It is. Yeah. I met one guy, the founder of SEO Wind, who he kind of at around the same time came up with a similar kind of terminology. So we both just been helping coin the idea just of it's collaborative, it's human and machine merged. And if you,
so that's what I read because it's basically what we are talking about. It's just it's a cool way to say it's cyber, and that's good. It's great.
Yeah, because like if you read the quality of this copywriter for beginners piece, it's not terrible, but it's not worth reading because it was completely generated by AI and there's no point of view inserted here. There's nothing that takes advantage of my 11 years as a copywriter. Whereas if you go read my actual guide for beginners to writing copy, that is literally pulled completely from my own expertise. And that's why people read that thing for 7 minutes on average.
And it's your way to position yourself because you want to position yourself that you're helping people with this approach, human an AI approach to copy, basically, which you call cyborg. It's
exactly. You need both because realistically, today, the version of me that uses AI, I cannot compete with the version of me from 5 years ago that didn't have AI. Like I spent 60 hours.
You're like a copywriter. It's amazing what happened.
I spent 60 hours on some of my blog content prior to AI. I could do the exact same quality today with 10 hours. There's no way to compete against that. If you can I had a client come to me like a few weeks back who needed to find new product market fit. I made him 3 different sales pages with 3 completely different angles in a week. Like for a price that like you would normally charge for a single page. Like AI has opened up stuff you could not do prior to AI. And so I just think for anyone really serious about like leveraging copywriting, you have to become a cyborg. You have to do both.
And now we have shown with ChatGPT for this dog nutrition guide, right? But do you use any other? You mentioned that doesn't always give you what you want anymore, or do you use any other tools that give you maybe a better output for you? We mentioned Content at Scale, which is a more specific tool for in-depth blog content, but anything else you might be using to do a piece like this and then adding your touches afterwards?
So if you go to this piece, I kind of talk through some of all the different applications I use. And there's 2 tools in particular that I use in some cases. There's Perplexity, which I like to use for particularly Reddit. Like if I wanted to, I'm launching a business here that's a supplement for kids with food sensory issues. My child's autistic. He has very limited palate. So some friends of mine who also have kids on the spectrum, we've been, formulating a supplement for our kids and then going to launch a business around it. So like, what are the struggles that parents of kids with food sensory issues experience? You can come in here and specifically do Reddit. And what's going to happen now is when I do this, not only is it going to give me the generative AI things, difficulty finding foods their kid will eat, social isolation, judgment, stress, and anxiety. It's now going to link me to actual threads. I'll share this tab here when it opens. Basically, it's going to link me to threads where people are like real people, unincentivized by any sort of payout, are talking about this stuff. And that's pretty crazy.
That's awesome, actually, to get a lot of research because you can link to this or mention it like according to this, or you can add because that's also what makes an article or even on your sales page. We didn't talk too much. We will get into that a little bit, but in a blog post, you want to have stats and stuff like that and to enhance whatever you're saying to your point of view, whatever, to support it.
So this is phenomenal for customer research. And then another thing here that I'll show you, I've only recently been experiencing with this, but this tool is called Magi or Mag AI. I think it's supposed to be Magi, but it'll actually let you try out the different ones. So GPT-4, Claude 2, Llama 2. Palm 2, but this is like the advanced version. Or
Right.
yeah. So what I did here is I tried for single use copy, headlines, email subject lines, social captions. I've actually found that ChatGPT has gotten a lot worse over the last 3 months. I think they're making internal tweaks for kind of mainstream palatability, and it's had the effect of like making the tool worse in a lot of ways. So
In what way? Like in what context? What are you doing when you're getting this
like
worse
specifically
results?
for stuff like headlines here. So you can see if I say write 10 highly clickable headlines for an article on why AI has changed copywriting. They're not like completely unusable, but one, I find it always tries to follow this phrase colon statement formula, which is okay, but
What formula
I
do you
find
like as a copywriter or as someone who's writing a lot of blog content and sales pages and stuff like that? What formula for headlines do you feel? Of course, it varies a little bit, but what do you like the most?
to me, it's always been a brainstorming process of thinking through like what the hook is. What's the hook of the article, and how do I make a promise that's going to compel someone to click? And I just find that GPT does not do, like, if you read through these, I don't think any of these are particularly compelling. And when you compare, you see what I like about Magi is you can compare it directly against. Now I did the same thing with, which one is this? Claude and then Llama. And I found like this: has AI killed copywriting creativity? That's a good hook. Like, that's a decent hook.
Yeah.
And then
Have you
could a
tried
computer?
Bard for this should be pretty decent because Bard is pulling from Google, right? So they should probably see what is already ranking on the top of the first few pages. So I would assume that you have to see like AI, like the different use cases. Maybe right now the ChatGPT is not good for certain things, but yeah.
So that could be true for SEO headlines. The thing
Yeah.
is, I've always done different meta headlines than like the actual published headline, because headlines that get clicks when you're sharing them with real people versus headlines that do well in
Got
SERP
it. So the
listings.
shareables. Okay, so the headline that you see, like when you search in Google, that's different. That's like
It's
for
different.
SEO purpose. And then the headline you might have on your site or what gets shared on your social platform, whatever you use, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, that's different, right?
Yes. Yes. At
Okay,
least that's how
interesting.
I've always done it, just because you want content that you make for search to still be something you can share around and potentially get some like more organic
I
community
kind of agree
traction.
with you on this. I know that some formulas for like search in SEO is not always the same. That would actually be that exciting if you share it on social media. It just says usually it's like advanced SEO.
A lot more
Cool.
straightforward.
Yeah, it's just colon, or they use a lot of colon for this. Like you have the advanced guide to SEO or the advanced guide to copywriting, ultimate guide, whatever. It's like this. It's pretty, it doesn't say too much more. So that's kind of how it is. But yeah, I
So
agree.
I liked the Claude and Llama versions quite a bit better than the GPT-4 ones. So I've been using this more for the like single line type copy use cases. Whereas when I'm trying to create longer pieces like a sales page or a blog post, that's where I'm using GPT-4. Also, there's also some other uses. Like, one of my absolute favorite ways to use GPT-4, particularly within content, but you can use it for any sort of copy, is to create examples and analogies to illustrate concepts. Because like when you're teaching someone a concept, if it's new to them, their brain is sort of building a new mental bucket to put that in. So if you can do an analogy that compares it with an existing mental model that they already have, it just makes retention and comprehension so much faster. And I loved including analogies in my work, but it was like hard to come up with the right one. And so it was very time consuming. Now I can get absolutely phenomenal examples and analogies in a few seconds. And it's amazing.
No, that's great. And it's like, let's say someone like myself or like someone watching this, they're not a native English speaker, and like coming up in analogies can be difficult. Like whatever, what are you going to think about? Yeah, but with ChatGPT, you can do it a lot faster. So that's good.
Speaking of, GPT-4 is an amazing proofreader and editor. So if you're writing content or any sort of copy as English as a second language, you can take what you write put it into GPT-4 and say, English is my second language. Here's my piece. Rewrite this to make it seem more like this is written by someone who with English as a first language, or rewrite this to improve
Yeah,
the
maybe check
grammar and
your,
syntax
but also
issues.
Grammarly, I think is a great tool because Grammarly they have used AI for the longest time, like even before AI became like this thing. I think it was one of the earliest tool to really, like a lot of people are using it, but no one really thought of it as an AI tool. Now what happened is that a lot of tools we are used to, they're now positioning their stuff as AI powered. That's what we are seeing. And there's also AI tools that just do AI stuff, right? But there are the other tools that we are used to. They are already having AI. Even this Riverside, what we are on right now, has a lot of AI things built in, and they have magic clips and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of tools you're using, they actually have AI, which is cool.
AI is a complete misnomer. It's just software. Like that's the thing I don't think a lot of people realize is it's a new gen of algorithms, and AI is what gets people clicking on stuff. So that's the terminology that's in vogue right now.
But every
There's
tool
no
needed.
fundamental difference between GPT-4. I mean, GPT-4 it is the most advanced NLP up to this date, but I've seen so many people commenting on AI and like LLMs as a suggestion that we're getting close to AGI, and like it's just ridiculous. Like we don't even understand our own consciousness. We don't even remotely understand it. So the idea that we're gonna in a few years rebuild a brain using machines that function nothing like our brain's neurons is quite the leap.
Yeah,
It's
man.
essentially just a new gen of software.
For sure. I might have to pick your brain on a bonus session because we covered a lot. Like there's so much more I could go into. Like we covered the blog post writing, and I think, yeah, you can use these strategies as well for some of the sales copy, email copy as well, to kind of take it in chunks and things like that. But
yeah,
is there anything like briefly you want to touch? Maybe we'll do a bonus on this for the bundle or something to go into that a little bit.
Yeah, I do want to mention a pretty cool trick I found for creating like more direct response sales copy with GPT or with ChatGPT. And this is something I have a course called Copywriter 2049 that goes basically I walk through start to finish on writing like 5 different copywriting deliverables from start to finish. So check that out if you're watching this. But
I'll drop a
I'm going to
link
show
to
you
it in the description. You can check some of Jacob's work there as well.
Yeah, but I'm going to show you one of my favorite tricks here. Let's see, we're still in the ChatGPT thread.
Yep.
So what we're going to do is, let's say we wanted to write a sales page for a pet summit. So I'm hosting a virtual pet summit, and I want to create a long form sales sign up page.
Maybe it's like for the bundle or something like. Maybe the summit is free to sign up for, but maybe he wants to write for the sales page.
Sales page for the post summit bundle upsell or sale.
Yeah, something like that. You can call it like I don't do really all access passes anymore, but I know he did all access passes for this. But like the dog nutrition super bundle or something like that.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Totally. What questions do you need answered in order to help me write the sales page? Give me at least 20 questions to answer. So what it's going to do is it's basically going to give you a pretty solid copywriting questionnaire. And this is like, honestly, I found it through my work as a freelance copywriter, working with hundreds of solopreneurs all the way up to marketing managers, CEOs. Like, I found that a big part of writing good copy is just knowing what the right questions are that you're answering. And so a lot of times, one of the most beneficial things I've done with my clients is just to give them a really good questionnaire that gets them thinking about
you know what? I find it so easy, and I'm not like, I have not worked with clients for copy. That's not what I do. I do my own copy, and I've made millions of dollars writing copy online. But what I do like a lot is that when I have something that works, or you can also model or see what other people are doing that you know that they're crushing it, you can actually see the sections of the page, and you can like see, okay, they have probably like, who is this for? Who, like the headline, who is this for? They have different sections, testimonials, right? They have the frequently asked questions section. And then usually they have like 2 sections, maybe for the CTA where they can click to buy. Like most sales pages look the same. Maybe they have a little bit of story, but I don't do too much of this long story form anymore. It depends on your product, I think, but I do mainly like focus on the benefits and kind of what they are getting in the product, and that converts really well. It's the easiest way I've found to do sales page, and we just clone the page for every product we create.
Totally. Yeah, once you have 1 or 2 good sales pages, you can kind of replicate the format pretty consistently. So it's going to give you all these questions. Basically, what you do is you just hop in, you answer all the questions, and then you just say like, reply yes. Once you've read my answers, it'll say yes. Then you start writing the page. You can ask it like, give me an outline for this page, or if you have your own outline, and you kind of do a similar process of section by section. But now you've trained this thread as your own little model for this page, where it's going to have all this information to access in giving you the answers for each section of that sales page. So it's similar to doing a lengthier prompt, but you're kind of doing it in a way that helps ChatGPT understand how to use it better than just posting a bunch of information into a prompt. I've just found that it seems to work a lot better than just like writing out a really extensive prompt.
Yeah. No,
It also helps you think about the right things to think about, which a lot of people struggle with.
This is probably the hardest. Like, I think what AI has solved in a lot of ways is that you don't get like writer's block anymore. So I think that is one thing you should. I mean, there's no excuse. If you don't know what to write, go to your favorite AI tool like ChatGPT or whatever you're using, and start brainstorming with ChatGPT and asking, get some questions and things like that. I think it's, writer's block is no excuse anymore. You can do this. Even if you are starting from scratch, maybe you don't even know exactly what to do. You can like figure things out with the power of AI, which is really, really, I mean, you couldn't do this a few years ago. So this is amazing.
It's pretty wild. And honestly, I feel like the true outcome of the current AI revolution really hasn't much less to do with copywriting and marketing as much as it's going to redefine the way we interface with the database of human experience that we call the internet. It's just the way, whatever the future of search is, and no one's doing it in a way that it's going to look like in 5 years, in my opinion. Whatever we have in 5 years, like, will be completely different than what we're doing now, but it's going to be so much more efficient at accessing information that I think that's the true revolution that we're experiencing right now is related to search, because Google has been a wildly inefficient search experience for so long. It's kind of just been the least shitty option.
I think we can work towards wrapping up. I have 2 more questions. The people that are watching this, they're creators, maybe solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. They're running like creator business and doing a lot of content. What's the number 1 piece of advice you would have for them when it comes to implementing AI in their business, like to get started with this? Or maybe they have been dabbling, but maybe they are not getting the results they're looking for. And you can start with this one and then get to the last one afterwards.
I think it's the same as the key to any sort of software automation, which is a lot of people start with, here's a technology I want to use. How do I build a workflow around this? Exact wrong way to do it. What you want to do instead is you want to look at, what's the North Star goal of my business? What are the workflows that I have to execute on consistently to move in that direction, get the outcomes that I want? Within those workflows, there's going to be repetitive things that you do. There's going to be things that are very time consuming and relatively low impact. When we look at like the 20/80 principle, like usually only about 20% of what we're doing is really having a higher level impact on our goals. And so finding what's that 80% that I can use AI and automation to do for me and take off my hands. Even kind of, Mr. Beast has been making the rounds over the last year with a lot of his ideas. And one of the things he said that I thought was really powerful is talking about how if I can have someone do something for me at 10% of like the quality that I can do it, it's still profitable to me to have them do it for me. And that, maybe for a lot of people, maybe it's not quite that much of a gap, but like the bigger and more complex your business is, the more things that you're actively inhibiting your profit if you're doing it yourself. And so finding like, what's that 20% that I need to keep doing that's the unique skill set I bring to the table? And how do I automate everything else? That's how you grow consistently. And AI now allows a lot of things that previously were not able to be automated. Like when we talk about the human writing process, none of that was automatable or was able to be automated like before GPT-4. Now, I'd say 80% of it is. I think 80% of a traditional writing workflow can be automated without sacrificing quality. So that's where that's what you want to be doing. You want to start with not thinking about automation. Just look at, what do I need to do to hit the goal I'm putting for myself? And then look at, what do I actually have to do? What's something that's repetitive, and how do I stop having to do that myself?
Yeah, so that's a great way to put it. And finally, was there any question that you wish I asked, but I didn't, or any final words of wisdom to anyone who's stumbling across this session or watching this?
I would love to know. I would love to hear from you on what you've found to be the most, how AI has been the most impactful for you in terms of,
Okay.
particularly with writing.
Turning the tables here. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. For me, wow. I mean, I love creating these. I love doing these sessions. It's really exciting for me to just connect with people and do. I think this is my form of the creativity. So I like to create my main content. This is the main piece of content I create. I connect with you. I take the time to do it together with my guest here now is Jacob McMillen. He's here with me. And afterwards, what I'm excited about, I couldn't do this before, to generate all the supporting content from this piece of content. Let's say I want to go into YouTube and I had to write manually my description. I don't need to do this anymore. I don't spend time on this. The tags, I go into ChatGPT or a tool that can do this automatically. The chapters, I don't do this anymore. This is automatically taken care of. If I want to create a blog post from this amazing session I did with Jacob here, which is full of knowledge, as you heard here, I wanted to keep this going. But I could create a really great blog post of this, or do a compilation piece with a lot of these sessions from a summit I've done or videos I've done. So this is a game changer for me personally. I couldn't do this before. There's a lot of use cases. I mean, I'm using Descript and tools like that for, just automating a lot of my workflow. And I think it's just going to get better. I'm really excited about voice as well. That's something I'm really, really excited about, to reach more people in Spanish and things like that. And what I see happening is that this is coming natively, possibly to the platforms, because that's going to enhance the platform experience. Like YouTube, they're actually going to get more people staying, because if someone stumbles across this, they probably want to hear us speaking Spanish. We're not speaking Spanish here. So they're probably going to leave this even if we had captions, because it's not the same. They want to hear this interview in Spanish.
And with the AI that's going to adjust the animation of
our and they can do it. It's just a little bit more expensive now for doing it long form. It's a little bit costly for doing it. It's not for short. You can do it for play around with shorter form. To do this, it's still relatively good, but to do it with a lot of sessions, it's a little bit more involved for sure. And you have to also train not only my voice, you would have to train your voice as well. So it's double, basically. If you're just doing some short videos, I think it's great. You can just train your voice, and you can, for shorts, for example, that's a fantastic way of doing it right now, because 30 seconds to a minute, that works. It's not that costly, and it's it's quick to do it. I'm really excited for this. So that's the first person to turn the tables in this way. That's great.
That's amazing. And it's funny you mentioned that, because over the last couple years, as video content has really exploded, one of the things I was pushing some of my students into exploring is you got all these YouTubers who are creating phenomenal content that could be repurposed as into blog posts that they could then be tapping into some more SEO
YouTubers
traffic.
Are not doing this, man. I feel there's for sure some people that started as bloggers or whatever, but I do think YouTubers are still doing better than the people just posting on Instagram or these places, because they're just disappearing after you have a post lasting a little bit, a day, maybe 2 days max if it goes viral, a little bit longer. But a YouTube video can go viral, or you don't even need to go viral. I have videos that just trickle over time and bring in traffic. 10,000 views here and there. It's not crazy views for an entertainment channel, but for a specific topic, it's a lot of views. And the
Yeah.
same thing with a blog post, right? So if you have a video, it's very easy to take that video and make it into an epic blog post rather than starting from scratch. Like the
Yes.
process we showed today was more like starting from scratch, but like Mitch in this example for the dog nutrition, he would have maybe content from his summits to pull in video content or quotes from experts. You just make it more engaging. And what you said, like staying on the site and staying on the page is really important. The same as you want watch time on YouTube, you want people to stay on your blog. That's why it doesn't make sense to just paste a transcript into your blog. That's not going to do anything for you. Like,
Yeah.
it might do something possibly before. I don't think you're going to rank or engage anyone with this. Rather hurt your SEO pro. Yeah. But this has been great, man. Really appreciate you coming on here, man. And
thanks for having me.
For sure, check out Jacob's work. Where's the best place? Your website to go and check it out?
JacobMcMillen.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there.
Cool.
Whatever
The
floats
whole
your boat.
community
Have a
on
YouTube
LinkedIn
channel
when
too.
it comes, the AI community on LinkedIn is crazy. A lot of people there. But good stuff. I linked this up. Be sure to subscribe if you want more like this. I might do something in the future with Jacob as well. He has some really good stuff, as you've heard here. And yeah, this has been awesome. And I appreciate your time, Jacob. Talk to you soon. Ciao.